Alright guys, this is a really fun one. I've just received a new fuzz pedal. Been waiting for it for a few weeks after I ordered it, and it is the Silktone Fuzz. Now, this is a really exciting, novel, interesting pedal. If you haven't been on the channel before, I'm a huge fan of fuzz. Mainly sort of vintage style and fuzz face type pedals, from your sort of rare and limited edition Jext face through your mini fuzzes from Kingtone. You get Silicone or Germanium. If you want to get gnarly and mad, you've got the Myriad Fuzz by Germanium, or the SM Fuzz, which is really, really great. Actually, really works well with rollback on your guitar. If you want to go a bit crazy, you've got your Octaland from Kingtone. And if you want real, true vintage sound, you've got the Vintage Fuzz from Kingtone. And my favourite at the moment, and has been since I got it, the Austin Pride by Dandrive. Now that has something in common with this Silktone Fuzz, because it allows you to control the bias and the cleanup. And you don't find this sort of cleanup knob on most fuzz pedals, but you do on the Silktone as well. Now the way they describe it for the Silktone pedal is that it's like a bit like using the guitar knob, except you can then keep it at a preset. So you could keep your guitar volume on full, kick on the pedal, and it's already set as if you've rolled back, which might help with other things, or it definitely helps if you're using the fuzz later in the chain. But that's not the most interesting thing about this pedal. The most interesting thing is this digital display here. Now, this is a Germanium fuzz, and Germanium fuzzes are pretty finicky when it comes to their bias and to things like temperature. And so using this knob and this dial and this switch, you can change the bias voltage. So you can go really low down and get that real spitty sort of sound. You can go really high up. It's a different sort of spitty sound, which they're calling sticky fuzz. Somewhere in the middle, you've got a sort of sweet spot. You roll it back a bit, you've got a more vintage sound. You roll it forward a bit, you've got a more full-on sound. And I literally received this 2 hours ago. I played it for an hour or so, and then I've recorded a few demos. Unlike my usual videos, which I put a lot of time into, I'm rushing because I'm going on holiday tomorrow for a week. I wanted to get a video out. So these are not really musical demos. This is proper noodling. This is, you've just received a pedal and you're having a blast with it, and you're just going through whatever you want to play just to see and feel how the pedal is. So I'm going to talk you through these. How does it feel? Ultimately, I wanted to know, is it better? Is it going to take the place of my Austin Pride, which is my everyday favorite fuzz? You know, all these other ones have their purpose for other reasons. Well, yeah, let's hear a bit more, and I'll talk you through that. I'll probably do a full-on review of this in a few weeks' time and compare it more closely. You're not going to hear the Austin Pride today. But yeah, this is more of a first impressions and a bit of a fun one. So yeah, let's get on with it. Today I'm using my Broadcaster, my Fender Broadcaster, and I'm using the 2-Rock Bloomfield drive in a very clean setting, which sounds like this. So you can hear really clean, not a lot going on there. I'm going to keep the dials on the pedal in exactly the same position throughout, only changing this knob, and I'm going to be in the classic setting until the last demo, which is in the raw setting. Again, I'll talk about that more in a full demo. Let's start with what they call the sweet spot, which is at around 4.5 voltage. Okay, straight away when I played this pedal, the first time I played it, I set it on around 4.5, which they say is the sweet spot. And straight away I thought, I've got to compare this to my favorite fuzz pedal because it may well be just as good for me or even better. The only thing I would say is it's slightly less glassy than some of the other fuzzes that I really enjoy. But obviously I'm not playing a Strat. I haven't set the amp particularly to be in that sort of vintage, glassy, Stratty sound. Obviously I'm not playing a Strat. In the review I will. But the dynamics and the feeling of this are absolutely top-notch, really comparable to all of the other great fuzz pedals that I've got. So straight away I fell in love with it and I thought, hang on a minute, this has got something to it. It's not just a novelty piece with this little dial. Right, I'm going to wind right back and we're going to hear a few different voltages right around 1.2, where it's going to be quite spitty. Not a sound I use very often because I haven't found a pedal where I enjoyed that. I even sold a Dan Drive pedal called, which was, I think, the Secret Weapon, which was like a zonk machine, which is supposed to be spitty. But let's hear this one. You know what? That's the first time I've ever really enjoyed that really gated, spitty sound. There's not a lot of uses for it in the sort of stuff I play, but maybe now that I found a pedal that I really enjoy playing in that way, I'll find uses for it. And that's where I love the way that pedals can actually sometimes inspire the music that you want to play. You can get this really funky sort of tone, sort of different. It's just different, you know. It gives you a different vibe, makes you want to play in a completely different way. So, you know, you could have this pedal as your second fuzz pedal on the board and just set up to play in this way, and you can dial that in so specifically that, and as a range, it's not just Spitty at one number. It's probably from 0.9 to 1.5 or 6. You get a lot of spittiness, but some of it's more staccato. You can't really bend, you can't sustain a note, and you just get it up to maybe 1.5 or 6, and it has the spittiness but with a bit more sustain. So really, really, actually the first time I've enjoyed playing in that way. The next one is probably one that I use a bit more often. They're calling it vintage setting, 2.5 on the voltage. So not too full on, not too much low end, not too much sustain and bigness. So let's hear what that sounds like. In a second, you'll hear a bit more at the 4.5 setting, which was considered the sweet spot. In that sweet spot, I found a lot more sustain and low end. So at 2.5, which they call vintage, is probably a bit more like what I would enjoy. A little bit glassy, a little bit more high end, a little bit less rolled off, and there's less compression. So it has that more vintage feel to it. Let's hear it at 4.5 again, just to compare. So you can hear at 4.5, you can roll it back to be pretty clean, but it never has that real glassiness that the vintage one has more of. So yeah, between the two, I'd stick somewhere around 2.5, 3, whatever it may be. Let's carry on going now to 6.5. They're calling this Fat Fuzz. So I had the feeling this wouldn't be my favorite setting, but might be something you'd use in a much heavier sort of tune. There'd be lots of uses for it, of course, but in the sort of playing that I do, maybe less so. Let's hear what it sounds like. impressed me is, despite the fact that if you're really going full on with your volume on full and you're playing quite hard, it really has that bigger sustain, a lot more low end, a little bit less clarity, but actually it's still so dynamic, both to your picking strength and to your guitar volume. So actually the pedal is so usable, so musical sounding and feeling. I'm on a bit of a high from it, really. It's that, that instant feeling you get from a new pedal that you enjoy. Sometimes you just plug a pedal in and you go for it and you just love it. So far, this may be the best initial feeling I've ever had about a fuzz pedal, which is saying a lot. So, because actually the Austin Pride grew on me over a few weeks of playing with it, whereas this has that instant feeling more than any of the other ones. So I'm quite taken with it. Let's keep going. We got one more setting at the top end, which is about 8 on the voltage, and they're calling that sticky fuzz. So at full voltage, this is another real spitty setting, a bit like if you're right at the bottom, but it's actually more playable, it's a bit easier to use, so probably more useful for a lot of people. Less funky and a bit more full. Again, really enjoyed it, and the ease of use on this pedal just means that you can keep playing around. There was a really musical video by a guy called Sasha Ivantic. Maybe I'll put a link if I remember down in my description. I got this pedal by watching his video. He did a great demo where he changed the voltage throughout the piece that he was playing, and it showed all the different uses in a clever way. Yeah, he's A, got a lot more talent on the guitar than I have, and B, must have taken quite a long time to make that. So yeah, very impressive stuff. Right, just for the last clip, I want to flick it over to raw. So there's this toggle switch here. So in the raw setting, you get fatter tones. There's no bass filter, and it's just wilder, more powerful, and a lot of fun. Again, in a full review, I'll use a bit more of this, but yeah, let's hear what that sounds like. You can definitely hear there that I'm playing just to sort of get the feeling of the pedal and see what it does in various different sort of dynamics and things like that. So much fun, this pedal. I've actually struggled the last week or so playing the guitar. I've got, I'm finding the whole Ukraine-Russia situation really depressing, and I've got some Ukrainian friends. I've got a Ukrainian guy who's been working in my house for the last, over a year, and we're trying to help him get back there. He wants to go back. He's got his daughter over there and the rest of his family. So it's a tough time at the moment for everyone really around the world, whether it's, you've got direct connection or it's financially or whatever. And I really just wanted to mention that here, so that I'm not trying to ignore the situation. We want to get through with our daily lives, but at the same time, for me, I'm feeling the need to concentrate somewhat on what is a really quick changing, slightly terrifying, very saddening and catastrophic situation. So yeah, this is the first time I've enjoyed playing the guitar since this whole thing started, and struggled a bit with it. But yeah, hopefully everyone out there is okay. And if there are any Ukrainian viewers watching, whether you're in Ukraine trying to watch YouTube so that you can get yourself through the day, or you're somewhere else in the world thinking about your other, people there, then I'm just sending you my best wishes. But sometimes music helps, and sometimes just having a bit of inspiration helps. And this has given me some energy today, so I'm really, really happy with it. And as I said, instantly that I played it, I knew I'd have to compare it to my favorite fuzz pedal, because it may become my favorite fuzz pedal. We need to do a close-up comparison of that. If you're waiting for an Austin Pride, there's a long, long waiting list. You can actually just go on Silktone's website and order. I think they'll ship worldwide. It took about 3 weeks for me to receive this one. So happy with it. Not too expensive, not cheap, but not too expensive. Before I even do a deep dive on it, recommending it for fuzz lovers. And you get so much flexibility and novelty with it, which will make a lot of you happy. I know it will. So anyway, that's for this one. I'm away for the next 6 days on holiday, 6 or 7 days. So I might not be able to make a video until about 10 days from now. But anyway, I'm wishing you all the best. And just lastly, again, as I have to remind everyone, I'm doing a giveaway of the Duellist pedal by Kingtone. This is not the current model, it's the previous one. Still a fantastic pedal. I've got the new version with the outside toggle switches. But I'll send this anywhere in the world. When I hit 6,000 subs, you just have to subscribe and comment, and you'll be in the hat to receive this. So yeah, good luck with that. Cheers.